In this video, I'll share with you every Python project that I've ever made. Now that is a little bit of an exaggeration because I've made hundreds of Python projects, plenty of which are very boring and don't make a great video, but in this video I will share with you every cool Python project that I've ever made. Now with that said, let me give you a taste of what you can expect here. I've worked on all kinds of projects, stuff like machine learning models, websites, simulations, automation projects, games, AI that plays games, all kinds of stuff, and I'm sure this video will give you plenty of inspiration and ideas for projects that you can work on in Python. Now, if you're familiar with my videos, then you know that almost every single one of these projects actually has a dedicated video tutorial. I'll leave that in the description and mention that when I go through the project. And in almost all of those videos, I have a sponsor just like this one. This video is sponsored by Intel and their OneAPI tools and libraries. OneAPI is a cross-architecture developer dream suite, making it easy to port code between different platforms and even providing a certain level of future-proofing. It's good for developers working with AI, Internet of Things, cloud, and more. This makes OneAPI a huge benefit to your toolkit and a massive time saver. OneAPI is also driving a new era of accelerated computing and lets developers like you create performant code quickly and correctly. Click the link in the description to zip right over to the full details and get started with OneAPI today. So let's dive in and start looking at these projects. I'm going to go extremely fast, spending about 15 seconds on each project, and the GitHub links for all of these projects will be available in the description. Now, if you want to gain the skill to work on some of these projects and get good at Python, then you should check out my course, programmingexpert.io. I'll leave a link in the description, but this is the best interactive course to learn how to code. You can use discount code TIM at checkout. And with that said, let's go ahead and get into these projects. So let's begin here with a fairly recent project. Now this is AI Plays Pong. This is a program that uses NEAT, otherwise known as Neuroevolution of Augmented Topologies, to train an AI how to win at the game of Pong. Next, we have a planet simulation. This is a program that simulates a few of the planets in our solar system orbiting around the sun. This uses real physics and the laws of gravitational attraction. Continuing, we have Pictionary. Now this is a project that I made during a 12-hour coding live stream. It works similarly to Scribble.io, and it lets people play Pictionary online against other players. Next, we have Sudoku Solver. This is a project that not only lets you play the famous game of Sudoku, but also lets you click a single button to have the game solved for you. If you're interested, this uses an algorithm called backtracking. Continuing, we have a sorting algorithm visualizer. Now, I don't think I need to explain this one. It's a fairly popular project in the software engineering space, but it allows you to visualize super exciting sorting algorithms. Next, we have Snake, the famous game of Snake. I'm sure many of you know it. I made this in Python using Pygame, and I do have an entire tutorial on this on my channel. Moving on, we have an online chess game. Now, this is another game that I made during a coding live stream. This time it was actually an 18-hour coding live stream. Yes, I am pretty insane, and this lets you play chess online. Fun fact, everything in this program works except for checkmate. Continuing, we now have a simpler project. This is a words per minute typing test. Now, this is actually a very beginner-friendly Python project. It takes about 45 minutes to code out and lets you test your words per minute in the terminal. Very fun project. I'd recommend you give it a try. Continuing, we now go on to our first web project or web development project. Now, this is actually a blog that is implemented in Flask, so you can make a post, you can view the post, you can comment, you can look at profiles, everything you would expect you can do in a blog. So next, we have a Pygame platformer game. Now, this is an incomplete game. I only built out kind of the beginning of it, but I made this during another coding live stream. This time, it was a 10-hour coding live stream, and the goal here was to enter this game into the Replit Game Jam. As you can see here, I did not win the Game Jam. Continuing, we have a game which is a car racing game in Python. Now, this implements acceleration, braking, and actually allows you to play against an AI that increases in speed as you complete the level. Moving on, we have a security camera in Python. Now, this is activated by motion and actually records videos to your computer. So if you have a Raspberry Pi or some type of webcam and you want to run this program, then you can have a security camera in Python. Next, we have an AI that plays checkers. This is pretty straightforward. I first built out the game of checkers in Pygame, and then I implemented the minimax algorithm to have a form of AI that can play against you in this game. Continuing, we now move on to our first machine learning project. Now, I made this one about 3 years ago, and this is a machine learning model that can successfully guess the number you draw on a screen. So pretty cool. This uses the MNIST digit dataset and is kind of a default or sample project from TensorFlow. Continuing, we have my version of Microsoft Paint. So it's a simple program that lets you draw a picture, save it, load it, and do all of the other stuff that you would assume you can do in a Paint program. Next, we have a simple script that creates some fractal art in Python using recursion. I actually built something like this in one of my computer science classes and figured it'd be a cool idea to show it here on the channel. Continuing, we have a turtle racing game that I made using the turtle module in Python. I actually made this because I was teaching kids how to code at a summer camp, and I wanted to build something out that was going to be entertaining and show them kind of how you create a larger program that uses random numbers and moves stuff on the screen. Anyways, this was solely meant to entertain a classroom full of children. Continuing, we now have another famous game. This time it is Tetris. Not much to say here. Built this out in Pygame. There's also a tutorial for this on my channel. Moving on, we have another algorithm visualizer project. This time it is the A-star pathfinding algorithm. I visualized this in kind of a grid system in Python, and well, you can see it's actually pretty cool. Next, we have my version of agar.io. Now, this was the famous game that everyone in my high school, at least, was always playing, and I built this project out again when I was working at that summer camp and allowed all of the kids that I was teaching how to code to play this game if they got their coding work done fast enough. Now we'll move on to another live stream coding project. This one was a tower defense game, highly inspired from Balloon's Tower Defense. I made this in 12 hours live, and you guys seem to really enjoy it. Next, we have another AI project. This one is AI Plays Flappy Bird. This is probably one of my favorite projects of all time, and is actually very interesting to watch learn. Again, this uses neat neuroevolution of augmented topologies to train an AI how to navigate through the pipes in Flappy Bird. This next project I'm going to show you I actually made as my final project for my grade 11 computer science class, and this is highly inspired from an app I used to use all the time called Super Stickman Golf. So this is my version of that. It's just mini golf in Python. It uses real physics, projectile motion, and something back then I was very proud of making in Pygame. Next, we have a card game. Actually, I think the only one on this list. This is Blackjack. Now, the 2 times I have played Blackjack in the past, I lost $500, but I still thought it would be fun to make this game in Python, so here you go. This is Blackjack. Moving on here, we have more of an automation project. Now, I made this when I was working at the summer camp as well, and what this does is automate the creation of schedules for groups of campers. So it takes in some inputs and spits out a Word document with the generated schedules for the next week of camp. And for the second last project on my list here, I have Hangman, a very simple one. I made this as one of my first Pygame projects in grade 11. Finally, we move on to my very last project, which is a real-time messaging app in Python. Now, I also made this during a live stream. It was actually what I submitted to Shopify as my coding project during my interviews. Fun fact, I did get the job at Shopify, but ended up turning it down for an internship at Microsoft. So now that we have gone through those 27 projects, I am officially out of breath and ready to conclude this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this gave you some motivation and inspiration for projects you can work on. And again, as a reminder, all of the links and resources for these projects will be available in the description. If you're interested, check out my course, programmingexpert.io. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in another one.